Tony Prieto. Joe Fars. Joe Yag. Carolyn Kramer. Liz Ray. Mike Kobus. Steve Ford. James Gardner. Absent Gigi Gleason.
Last meeting, I asked Lieutenant Sullivan if he was aware of the increase in the homeless in our harbor and those that sleep in the cars, and he answered that unfortunately there are new laws that he cannot engage those people that sleep in their cars. And then I also asked him if he was aware that the lady that was unfortunately involved in the fatal accident on the beach was homeless, and he said, yeah, he was well aware of that, and so were his officers. They had spoken to her on several occasions and were aware of the problem. I also asked her if she recalled me. I asked you if we were still prohibited from discussing the proposal for the reorganization of the lifeguards in the police department, and you said, yeah, we're still prohibited. So that was the only two additions I had.
Thank you very much. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. Any other corrections or changes? That mentioned, may we have a motion to accept the Good morning, sir, or afternoon, sir, evening, wherever we are.
It is afternoon, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Lieutenant Dan Sullivan with the Oceanside Police Department. Since our last meeting, I'm going to step away from this so you don't hear the echoing in the background. Since a month ago when we were here, we were discussing crime trends, especially in the harbor. There was one, I think it was the next night after our meeting, there was multiple break-ins over by the Joe's Crab Shack in that parking lot right there. There were numerous, I'll just use my big boy voice, how about that? Mm-hmm. There were numerous window smash vehicle burglaries. I do believe that there were 3 identified victims in that parking lot, all next to each other, all parked together. It was an opportunist crime. They weren't stealing stereos or anything like that. They were basically rummaging through the cars. The good thing about that, and I don't know if everyone is aware that there was an arrest made that night, and that subject has been he's been very fortunate, in my opinion, as far as his legal status. He was down in La Mesa earlier in the year when La Mesa was having some riot issues and was victimizing just about anything down there. That subject is still in custody at the time I'm telling you this, and will have to answer for several other crimes that happened in the city, those vehicle burglaries, as well as La Mesa crimes, which apparently there were multiple cases. As far as an update on staff, we are working with one officer short, and will be, I presume, for a while. He's been gone for about 2 or 3 months. I don't see any change in that. That space being, I'm trying not to backfill and expend overtime to do it because his shift is kind of an in-between shift. I limit overtime but still have coverage. So there isn't a gap in any of the coverage. The officers have recently been participating in some joint training exercises with the Coast Guard as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You might have saw some Black Hawk helicopters off the shore.
Yeah.
That was the FBI's hostage rescue team, their real deal SWAT team. They train on Camp Pendleton quite a bit, and we had the opportunity to join some of their training. As far as waterborne stuff, lifeguards were also participating, but they were more the rescue element. And then we have been conducting a lot of joint training and a lot of joint exercises with the Coast Guard, particularly offshore, not in the red boats, but in the black boat. That is an interdiction vessel. That interdiction vessel has been getting a lot of hours, unfortunately. A lot of intel, human and narcotics smuggling coming up from the Republic of Mexico. Oceanside is the last stop before Los Angeles as far as a smuggler's route. And our efforts, I do believe, have pushed those smuggling routes a little bit further west, which is a good thing, out to about 40 to 100 mile mark. And Catalina, as well as some of the other islands out there, seem to be the destination last stop, Los Angeles, the final. So other than that, I don't have much of an update. So if you have questions, I'm here to answer.
Anyone a question? Mike?
How many times do the harbor boats have to go out and assist any boaters that were in need, either inside the harbor or outside the breakwall or things of that nature?
Over the course of, say, the last year?
Well, last time we met.
I can think of I can think of 5. I know the number is a little bit more than that, probably in the last month, but 5 different ones, and actually one of the subjects decided to park his vessel on the beach on Camp Pendleton. He was asked to leave our harbor, and we helped him get out and got him pointing north or south, but he was trying to paddle his 30-foot sailboat out of the harbor. There's a whole lifetime of poor life choices that led to this event where he was now heading north. And he made it to about San Onofre before he decided to park his boat.
Amazing.
So one incident that happened yesterday, Saturday, late Saturday, there was a death at sea, significantly far out on his way back from Catalina. Adult male and adult female were the only 2 souls on this vessel. Unfortunately, medical condition led to the death of the adult male on this vessel, and ourselves and Coast Guard responded. The vessel was brought into the Oceanside Harbor, where evaluated by medical, and then the coroner's office eventually responded, but that was literally Saturday afternoon that led into Saturday. And that is it, sir.
Steve?
Thank you for coming tonight. Are you familiar with the Cruise News, the newsletter that gets distributed in our marina?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, the most recent issue, our chair, Liz Rea, chronicled the recent crimes that have been occurring.
Yes.
And the slip runners were complaining that that's a result of there's less police presence in the marina. Now, myself and most of the slip runners are pro police officers. You're men and women in blue. You know, I smile. I give them a thumbs up now when I see them because I know they're under a lot of pressure to perform. But the Cruise News also went into detail about less patrols on the water. So do you think that's a legitimate complaint by the slip renters about the recent increase in crime and the recent decrease in police patrol on our waters?
I'll be blunt, no. And I find that most of the things written in the Cruise News are extremely, I don't want to go so far as to say biased, but they aren't exactly the most factual newspaper I've ever read in my life. But setting that aside, there was also, at the end of that article, I think there was a question that was raised about, did you call the police? And the majority of the people in that article did not actually call the police to request police service for some of the things that they observed. That helps get that going. So I would encourage you to call the police department, especially if you see crimes in progress or what you believe to be crimes in progress or any suspicious activity. My officers are down there. My officers are down there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Police departments run on Murphy's Law because there's never a policeman when you need one. I believe everybody has probably said that over the course of their life. But police do interrupt a lot of crimes in progress. So I don't know if that old saying is actually factual or not. As a result of that article, we discussed it. My officers have been on the water and have been on patrol as they have been for many years. There has not been a shortage. They aren't sitting at the station or sitting at the harbor office. And if they are, then I will address that, but I can assure you they are not. So my answer to your question is no, I don't believe that's factual at all.
Well, I appreciated your reports that showed the statistics between last year and this year for crime. I haven't seen one in a while. Has there been a recent increase in crime in the marina? I've only been a victim once of theft in my 16 or 17 years, but I'm curious. It would appear that there's been an increase. Is that true?
I don't believe so. Statistically, it doesn't show that there's been an increase. And statistically, the numbers point to the fact that crime is not decreasing, but it's not increasing, so it's kind of a steady plane. There has been a few different series of crimes in which arrests have been made that have stopped that behavior. That would show a statistical increase, but it also shows then a flat line of any other crime or even a decrease in crime. I wish that the police had the ability to tell where crime is going to occur, but policing, and especially modern policing, is based on a heavy presence and routine patrol. And it's up to the cops to understand the area in which they work in, their environment that they work in, and then police those areas that draw the most. And that is a working model, and that's how we go. But the key to that model is the public's interaction with dispatch. If you need the police, call the police, and the police will. So the police are there. They are moments away. So there is not any reason why.
Well, myself and most of the slip runners I speak to, we appreciate you and your officers seeing them on the water in the marina. We think that's a great deterrent, and you're helping keeping us all safe, so thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you saying that. To ramble on here a little bit, our homeless issue in our city it's maintaining a steady pace. It's not growing either, but it's certainly not going away. And with our COVID issues that we have currently, not only in the city, but in the nation, where, the loss of work, especially those that are the working poor, where they're in that service industry, or they are in, a portion of the service industry that requires people to, request assistance or food, alcohol, things of that nature. A lot of those jobs have gone away, and there has been a gap between what services can be provided by the community and what kind of enforcement that is reasonably done by the police. And again, based on the update of your notes, the Martin Boise case changed the perception, I guess, and then it made it a reality of what police can do as far as enforcement of non-criminal vagrant type laws that used to be on the books. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, it was not unusual for the police to be summoned to deal with a vagrant. Those days, unfortunately, are past, or fortunately, depending on your perspective. But it is at a critical level, in my opinion. Not so much in our city, but look at San Diego, look at Seattle, look at Santa Barbara. If you've ever been to Santa Barbara in the last 5 years, and see the change that the transient population has done to that community, and let alone major cities like Seattle or even Los Angeles. So our problems are very small compared to other communities of equal size, but it is still a problem. I just don't know the answer to fix it.
I see. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Lieutenant Sullivan, in the past, there's been volunteer individuals driving in squad cars assisting the police department. I'm not exactly sure what their duties are, but I know that they are volunteers. And I'm not sure so much that I've seen them in the harbor so much. Are they still active, or have they been put on the sidelines because of the...
Unfortunately, the police department, as well as the harbor, we had to shelve our senior volunteer program. More so out of an abundance of caution, but they fit that demographic that are most susceptible to COVID. And we can't, I don't want to be put in a position where I'm risking the life of a volunteer over their health. It's foolish, and it was a city directive for us to eliminate that program for now, with the expectation that it will come back at a future date. But you gave me an opportunity to talk about something. Our senior volunteers, our harbor volunteers, used to do a lot of the blue book type infractions and violations down in the harbor. Ted was able to work his magic and translate or transfer a senior volunteer position into a paid position of the most active volunteer that we had, who is now doing all the blue book violations up and down the docks. And, his name is Ed, and Ed is extremely busy, and I would highly recommend that you hire a few more of them. They work cheap, you have full control over them, and they are there specifically for the purpose of blue type stuff. My 2 cents.
Now, Ed works primarily for Ted and doesn't interface with the police department at all, or on occasion whenever there's an incident of some sort that needs police response?
Daily interaction with him and during the hours that he is there, but his primary focus is on blue book type enforcement of the harbor. So, I mean, yes, we all know Ed. We all know Ed's past, and Ed is an asset. I wish we could clone him because he was
So,
outstanding.
from your perspective, we could probably use maybe 2 more Eds?
I would say 2 on both sides of the week and not work them to death. I would say 3. Have 4 people that could split
Right.
each side of the week, and I think you guys would be in extremely good shape.
Thank you.
I don't know what Ted might have to say about that. I'm spending his money over here. But it's
I'm about to ask him that next.
oh, okay. I think it's a good program.
Thank you.
Yes,
Any
sir.
other questions? I have just one question. I noticed that we've lost the bimini on one of the harbor patrol boats. Was that during the last windstorm, or?
We didn't lose it. It has some had some snaps that were torn, and
Okay.
it's at the canvas place getting fixed up.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Any
yes, ma'am.
other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have the harbor manager's report. Ted, please.
Chair Ray, Vice Chair Kobus, committee members, Ted Chaffone, Harbor Division Manager. I am here to present my update to you, which will be a little briefer than in the past, but I think we have some interesting items to discuss. First off, as everyone likes to see, is the slip waiting list. And I hadn't seen it myself, to be honest with you, since this report, as I was out last week. So I will just ask, if I can, Jennifer, is that an increase over previous months?
It is an increase. October 1st is when you can get on the waiting list, and your fee will be good for the remainder of the current year and the following year. So we see a spike in October.
Thank you. Okay, information that I know everybody's been waiting for, and I am here to explain to you where we are going. For the last few meetings, we've been unsure as to whether or not we would receive the Coastal Commission permit in time to complete this construction project this budget year. We did receive our permit approximately 10 days ago. So in having discussions with Bellingham Marine, we are prepared to move forward as planned with the project. We still do not have a City of Oceanside permit. We expect that to be forthcoming, and we do not have an SDG&E permit, but we don't need one to start or basically get almost all the way to completion before receiving it. So the project will take place. You will begin to see activity early January. As far as the dock goes, there is no changes to the dock construction or configuration. Every slip is exactly as it was, including the widths and the lengths. No pilings will be removed and no pilings need to be added. We will be completing the project in 2 phases. If you are slip number up to slip number 49, you will be in the first phase. So approximately 25 slips will be in the first phase of construction. The second phase of construction will be slip 51 through the end. I'll tell you that the first phase of construction is a longer phase because of a lot of the work that has to be done up front. That's going to start approximately early February and last about 10 to 11 weeks of construction. Once that's complete, those vessels will come back from the transient docks that we've assigned, and phase 2 will move to the transient docks. That would take place approximately mid to late April, and that phase will take approximately 4 to 5 weeks. So Bellingham is committed to completing the entire project, start to finish, before Memorial Day weekend, in fact, approximately a week before. So we feel confident that they will get it done. They've made a tremendous effort in getting through the permit process, as we know is very difficult with the Coastal Commission. And we will be sending specific information to those individual slip renters, telling them how the process is going to work. We are about 90 to 95% through identifying specific slip locations for each one of those slip renters, so their vessel will fit. We have a lot of issues to deal with. We have dock sizes that we have to accommodate. We have liveaboards that we have to accommodate. We have power sources that we have to determine how that's going to work. And it's not an easy process to make it work. And Jennifer and Richard have spent a lot of time going through all of that, trying to make certain we get everybody in the right spot. So again, we'll send general information out to the general slip renters, but we will be sending specific information, a direct letter and communication to each one of those slip renters, and let them know how the process is going to work and the approximate timeframes. And we are prepared at this point to move forward. Another operation that I think all of you are aware of, as I've mentioned it multiple times, is the Saitai Operation that we're going to be going through after a few meetings with the key group of stakeholders. It was determined that we needed to change a small ordinance with Harbor Code. That will be taking place this Wednesday. It's a minor ordinance, but in order to make this work properly and legally, we need to do that. So that'll take place this Wednesday. Once that's complete, we'll pull together our stakeholder meeting and move forward with the project, which is going to take a significant amount of time. Please don't expect this to happen all in one quarter or even a half of a year. It's going to take a significant amount of time, and we're going to go through it methodically and make sure that it's done right.
Ted?
Yes.
I had somebody wanted me to ask you, will anybody be grandfathered in as far as having where they have their vessel on a side tie?
So as part of the stakeholder group, I believe, right? You are. We'll be discussing all of those issues, confirming with the group, and make certain that, again, we have something that the stakeholders believe is the most fair and appropriate way to handle this. So
Okay.
I won't say at this point.
No, I just wanted to convey it to you
Yes.
so I could pass on the correct information.
Absolutely. You may have noticed that the seal platform has moved slightly, and we've made some modifications to it. Seals and sea lions have been super active this year, as many of you have seen throughout the harbor. It's an issue that faces every harbor in the state of California. They're not getting any smaller in their population. It's simply growing. I think everyone knows they are protected still to this date. Harbors are limited in what we can and cannot do. And what we've tried to do is provide a place where they can go and not be bothered, because they don't like to be bothered. And that's what we're doing. We're going to hopefully add a few more smaller sections of the low-lying block docks that you see that they seem to love so much and attract more and more. We've also removed the center of the wooden platform, and they seem to like to have the ability to enter and exit from a more secure area versus just out, you know, in the open water. So it does seem to be working. I know sea lions and seals are a menace right now. I've had multiple calls and emails and issues regarding that. And so I continue to tell everyone they don't like to be bothered. So when you see them, bother them as much as you can. And they will go to your next slip render's finger. And that's the best we can do to continue to move them. And eventually they'll end up on this platform where nobody bothers them. And that's the whole intention.
On this issue, I had again, a couple people bring something up to me. They've noticed, especially one boat cleaner had noticed, that there are people feeding the sea lions. Is there any way we could put up some signs or down by the fuel dock when they clean the fish down there? Don't feed the sea lions, because they're inducing them to stay in the harbor instead of going out fishing.
Chair Ray, we absolutely do not want anyone feeding any wildlife in the harbor, because it creates a population that can't be fed by the normal, you know, environment. So it's absolutely not something we want to see. If you offline will get to me who those people might be, we'll deal with that one-on-one, or if it's a more public communication, you know, we'll make that also.
Okay.
We don't want that to happen.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, sure.
Yes, thank you, Ted, for resolving this issue up in the north end. However, as you probably already know, that there are problems down in the southern end of the harbor, where the sea lions are very active on docks. And I read that some of the crew on the charters were tossing bait at them. So again, something I read, I've never seen it, but they are starting to find an area in that part of the basin. So,
Chair Kovas, you know, again, let me know if offline when you can, or if anybody hears of specific situations, and we can deal with that directly through the harbor.
Okay.
That concludes my presentation. If you have any
thank
more
you.
questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Anybody have questions? Steve?
Yeah, I received an email complaint about the seals. I'm sure you hear these all the time, but I wanted to let you know directly that this individual, she was afraid to disembark from her boat in the middle of the night to use the restroom because the seals are so aggressive. And she's concerned about her safety. What would you tell her? Could she deter those seals?
I looked over and he nodded yes.
No.
Yeah.
So I believe that would be a police dispatch call if there's
That's a,
danger.
In all seriousness, yes, call us.
okay.
A couple of my guys have been bit by seals.
Thank you. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Then yes, call.
yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to just to know how many people love them. Of course, the tourists that stand on the sidewalk and ogle at them and take their pictures, versus the people that really don't like them at all near their boats because of the odor and the potential damage to their swim steps. So, but thanks for working with us on that. I know it's not easy.
Oh, sea lions, go ahead, Carolyn.
Ted, I do have a question, and it might be directed more towards Jennifer. I saw on the harbor waiting list that there's 4 spots for commercial vessels. Always been my understanding that the commercial slips were to be given to the commercial fishermen with current landings. I mean, do we have viable fishing businesses that want to come into the harbor that we do not have room for? Because I don't believe that all those slips are occupied with commercial fishing vessels at this time.
Committee Member Prieto, here's the process for the commercial fishing. First, Helgren's has first right of refusal on all slips that come available, and we go to them anytime a slip comes available. And the slips that you referred to, at that time, there were no commercial fishing vessels on the waiting list. So they were offered, again, because the harbor is not going to leave a slip not used. They were also offered to commercial enterprises. They're not fishing enterprises, but they're commercial enterprises. But when a slip comes available, first Helgren's is the opportunity, and after that, then it would go to those on the waiting list. But at the time those slips were offered, there were no, and it had not been for quite some time, any commercial fishing vessels on the waiting list. Either that or they were too large for the slip.
Carolyn?
A question regarding the seals. So it used to be that the seals would congregate on the bell buoy, and then we accommodated them in the harbor. Is there any way that something could be built by the bell buoy and take them back where they wanted to be to begin with, or not? Is that something that's not doable?
So, Committee Member Kramer, the issues we have out outside the harbor is we don't control any of the waters in the Coast Guard area. I highly doubt, personally, not something that we couldn't communicate and ask the question, but it's going to be very difficult to do anything outside of the inside harbor.
But it would be something that you maybe wouldn't have to maintain, because that would be their environment, just like who would maintain the bell buoy.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is to place anything out there anchored or attached would be an issue. We don't have authority
Different
to
jurisdiction.
do that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think a great help will be is if we see somebody cleaning fish, or if we see that they have some extra fish from a fishing trip out there, make sure that they get rid of it before they enter the harbor. Because if, like they say, if the boat cleaner is seeing them feed the fish, and it was mentioned here that the commercial fishermen are doing it, maybe a word to them saying, hey, do it out there, would go a long way. But I will email you. Okay. Any other questions? Joe?
On the JDOC remodel, for the first portion that you're going to do, will the people on the second half of the dock be using the ramp near the hotel, or will they have access sometimes, all the time? Because I know you're building a new access.
Committee Member Yag, I had to ask that same question because I was unsure how Bellingham was going to do the first section of JDOC as the first phase and still gain access to the second phase, because it is past
The
that
ramp,
area,
yeah.
but they're telling us that what they will do is build the initial main dock alongside the other
Oh,
dock.
okay.
So there's going to be continued access through, through the main area.
Other than special days where they're swapping over. Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Jennifer, do we get any questions from anyone? Okay.
That would be brought to our attention before the meeting.
Say again?
That would be brought to our attention before the meeting.
Okay.
No public comment tonight.
Okay. I happen to have a question that came through on my phone. Chairman Ray, are you willing to let me read this question? It was.
Yes.
Okay. It comes across question, HVAC meeting. The Harbor District has 9 salaried officers. Why is salaried volunteer writing citations for dock/slip renters infractions? We know the officers aren't spending their days in the water. What and where are they policing? I think that might be for you, Lieutenant Sullivan.
I do believe you are correct. The answer to that question is there's the Harbor Blue Book is much like a community's HOA and the rules that come along with the homeowners association or something like that. They are not statute laws that can be enforced by law enforcement officers. And there seems to be some confusion as to that authority. And police do not have authority in any way, shape, or form over civil rule. If it rises to the point of criminal, then of course that's the police's function. But in this day and age, and honestly, when I was a young policeman, and I've been doing this job for 25 years now, so over the course of that 25 years, that has changed significantly. I, as a police officer, used to respond to calls very, very much like that, or civil type calls, where I didn't have any authority. We would still be dispatched to them, and it would be our job to try to mitigate or try to resolve. Did I have the legal authority to do that? No, we didn't. And in this day and age, where the relationship of the community and the police has been better than it currently is, at least that perception. If we would respond, or if I would send my officers down to deal with a civil issue or a kind of a blue book type violation, and where I would stop and detain those people in question and try to resolve this issue, do I have any legal authority, or did I just violate the Constitution? The fact of the matter is I just violated the rights, and therefore we would be subject to punitive damages because it was done and we have full knowledge of, and it is a lawsuit waiting to happen, and it would be indefensible for us. The days of the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, the spirit of the law is still there, and it will be enforced under the spirit of what the law was behind. The letter of the law comes back down to the police officers and their legal authority to be able to stop, detain, arrest, and take the rights of that individual for a legal criminal, not. Does that answer your question? It's a concept of law, and it is down to cutting hairs or splitting hairs, but it is an important one that the Constitution is based on and gives us a legal authority.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question then.
Yes, sir.
When we changed and it became Oceanside Police Department and no longer the Harbor Patrol, did that change then? Because the Harbor Patrol used to enforce those things. I remember back, maybe it was 20 years ago, but they enforced all the rules.
They did. And sadly, they didn't have the legal authority to do any, because it's not a violation of law. And this is a debate that the harbor master and I have discussed many times over, is it a civil matter or is it a criminal matter? If it's a criminal matter, we're there, we're the police, that is what we do. But a civil matter, we have never had the authority over. And
If we had an independent Harbor Patrol, could we give them authority?
no. I mean, yes,
Why?
we could.
Excuse me? If we're paying them and they're working for us, it seems to me that we could give them authority.
Do you want me to respond? I mean,
I'm sorry, excuse me.
okay. It depends on you can't just hire someone to go arrest people. I mean, that is a law enforcement function. The lifeguards, we have the ability to Some of the lifeguards have 832 powers that have been blessed, so they can write citations, things of that nature. But again, those are criminal matters. If you hire an independent person, yes, they work for you. You can have them do whatever you direct them to do. So a private security may or may not, but I think the best venue is one that we spoke of earlier. You have a paid person that is familiar with the rules and regulations of the harbor and can issue those notices and warnings, and they report directly back to the harbor.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Joe?
I'm thinking that 20 years ago, the harbor master was running the harbor, not a harbor manager, and he was usually an officer with a badge. So I think that might have helped him with more Blue Book authority, at least to the public, as opposed to whether it was legal or not. With Ed writing warnings and citations and property being seized, he's not writing any fines, is he?
Committee Member Yag, so Ed writes notices of violations,
Yeah.
okay? And then administratively, the harbor can deal with those based on our own municipal code, as well as our rules, regulations, and my authority in the harbor to deal with those violations.
Right. Because I don't want Ed to be the fall guy.
Yeah.
He's not.
Good.
He's not. All he's doing is notifying the harbor manager of a violation.
And they
then-
get a warning too. Whatever he's found, those people get a warning too.
And they, yes, correct. Yeah, they'll get a notice, they'll get a warning, correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next would be the Harbors and Beaches Advisory Committee 2019-2021 workshop update. Have any of you met, or we all happy with what we did last time? Okay. May I ask, oh, did you? Good.
There we go. We did meet as far as the harbor, what was that? I'm sorry if I get our title, the
That's okay.
appearance and beauty. Myself, Member Gardner, and Member Yag did meet. So give my report now, I
Yes,
take
please.
We'll get a real quick one. We wanted to kind of note and thank the harbor maintenance for the excellent work and excellent timing for the season of having all of our trees in the harbor trimmed and maintained in time, that with this most current windstorm, there was not too much fallout from the palm trees in the area. And I did speak with Mr. Harbor Manager Chaffone this morning, and did find out later that I guess you guys are about plus or minus 10 trees left on finishing up of all the trees in the harbor being maintained for the season, with a big maintenance object of removing the excess, they call them skinning, these type of palm trees, all that being removed ahead of time, which is going to be a huge advantage to the harbor beauty in the future for years to come, actually. So wanted to make mention and remind that the commercial fishermen about the staging and the removal, timely removal of any of their fishing gear, that it is just there for, it's not there to be a storage, it's just there to be in its staging process. I don't know if there's code on that, but that was a mention in our meeting. And also kind of get some clarification or look into the fact that there is some bird and or theft deterrents being used by some vessels that have an audio kind of function or feature of it. I believe it's on GDOC, is what Joe did mention, that there's a vessel that has an audio bird alarm. That might want to be looked into as far as the,
It's
if it's,
loud.
Again, and I think the term is usually like a CC&R for organizations, something like that. I'm assuming that there's, and because it's a city harbor, it's going to be a municipal code, but kind of finding out the legality of these things as well as lighting, maybe any kind of lighting to be used for the same purpose if it's how that lands in our current regulations. So other than that, really, the three of us definitely agreed that the harbor maintenance staff has done a very good job of maintaining and keeping up with a lot of projects, doing a lot, so that's it.
Ted?
If I can just reply, Committee Member Prieto, thank you for that. I really need to address that maintenance to Richard Green. He is really leading the charge on that, so he's the guy who needs to be patted on the back. But we do have code related to noise and light, and so again, we'll deal with it if we can be made aware of a specific dock or slip, and we can address those issues.
Any other questions, updates? Okay, thank you. Committee member reports, anyone?
I've got one thing to say. As the Oceanside Yacht Club representative, I'm sad to say that for those who already know, there will be no holiday parade in the harbor due to the conditions that now exist everywhere. The Yacht Club has had to, as all businesses, not have inside dining. We are staying in compliance with the orders that come down from the state through the county, through the city, and we are still on the water, having some pretty good sail days, but we are staying in compliance. But mostly we're pretty sad about not having a holiday get-together. We were hoping at least we could cruise the harbor, get our boats lit up, but I guess that's not going to happen. Hopefully next year we can bring in the city, and maybe they can be part of the holiday parade in terms of getting it funded and making sure that the police department is cared for, and also the trash that needs to be picked up and whatnot. Maybe that's something we can look forward to for next year. Hopefully this COVID thing will be done. I certainly hope so by Christmas next year. Yeah. Thank you.
Are there going to, I've read somewhere that there's going to be a paddle, a Santa paddle. Did you hear about that?
I say again?
A Santa paddle, where they're on their, you dress up in a Santa suit and you paddle up and down the harbor?
There are rumors to that effect.
Okay.
Yes, I can't verify anything.
And
at this
then,
time.
I believe it's around December 13th?
Perhaps, I
Okay.
haven't seen that.
Because I saw that and that'd be fun to watch.
Well, we did have a really fun Halloween. And it
Yeah.
was all on the water and paddling out there. It was a blast. And the weather was pretty inclement that day, but the sun broke through at the right time, and we were able to see a nice sunset. So people are still enjoying the harbor and having a good time, and we're all doing it safely. And so we're thankful for the responsible folks that have their boats in the harbor.
And also kudos to the yacht club for putting on the treasure hunt, for what I call a treasure hunt. That was so much fun. Learned about the harbor, and I'm surprised how much we knew about the harbor. That was so much fun. So thank you for doing that. That was
Well,
fun.
just so you know, the winner of that was our own colleague, Joe Yag.
That's cool. Thank you. Any other committee? Carolyn?
I just had I should have actually asked Ted during his report, but any update on the Jolly Roger? I had two questions from the community. That one is the Jolly Roger, the other one is the fish market.
Committee Member Kramer, I can answer the Jolly Roger. They have been in the process of permitting and now constructing some outdoor seating for the restaurant. As you know, they have none, and they're not able to operate. They haven't been able to operate. They just completed that. I happened to notice that today, so I believe they're going to be moving forward with a new restaurant. I don't know if they've selected who that's going to be, but that is their intention, is to continue to operate the restaurant, for a number of more years.
So it'd be the same owners, just different name, not
Same
Jolly Roger?
owners, possibly a different restaurant group.
Okay.
And your second?
Then, James, anything on the fish market?
I've actually got some comments some sad news, really, to bring up that one of the longtime fishermen in the harbor, Bruce Campbell, has passed away, and unfortunately took his own life.
Oh, Lord.
He was been here for longer than I've been. I've been here for over 30 years. He's been here longer than that, and he's a fixture in the harbor. He's very productive, just a good man, and I think I don't know how to go about it, but I think something possibly could be done for remembrance of him for being such a fixture in the harbor for so long. I don't know, some type of memorial or something like that. I'd like to try to see if we could do something like that for him. And he was also a major player in the fisherman's market, and so we've had a little setback there. But we're still moving forward, and it's a little more involved than it seems, but I think that in the long run, taking the time and doing it right will be the right approach to make.
Yeah,
so.
me as well. I probably don't understand that there is a lot of work to be done and to even getting started on that. So thank you for taking care of that.
Yeah, the logistics are pretty impressive, really. We're working on it. That's all I can tell you at this point. We'll have a better report for you at some point.
Thank you.
And but I don't know how, like I said, how to go about this for Bruce, but I don't know if there's something the harbor could do or what. But I know, one of the longtime members in the commercial industry over there was they put his name on a bench or whatever. I don't know if that's appropriate or if that can be done, or just something to, he's been a fixture here for a long, long time. So I'd like to see if maybe we could do something for him.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Any other comments? Joe?
There are a few empty benches. There are a few empty benches if you want to go that route. And I was wondering, is there a limit on the number of benches? Because we seem to have a lot. And I was wondering if that's going to continue adding them, or if you have a set amount of benches that you're going to allow.
Committee Member Yag, the bench program actually ended about 8 years ago, so there hasn't been acceptance of any new benches. There's been a few replacements, and when we allow that, if the benches just deteriorate and they're not cheap, and if the family, if we're able to, I still contact them, and they're interested in it, they can pay to have another one replaced. But we haven't accepted a new bench request since I've been here, and I'm told it's been about 8 years. There is a brick program that the city has available, which I believe is down towards the pier.
It's on the pier. I was just thinking, since we're going to be getting the heart in the heart sculpture into the harbor, and it has to sit on something, if we put it on a slab of concrete and maybe offer a nice plaque or a nice brick, for another terminology, in someone's name, it's a way of saying thank you and recognition there at the heart.
Committee Member Ray, so I will be meeting with the Arts Commission again on it, and they have their own ad hoc committee who's helping me basically navigate that whole process, because there is a process to putting any art in the city and certainly in the harbor, so we're going to have to follow whatever that process is. I'm not even clear on it myself at this point.
Is there something that if I sent an email they could look into it?
I believe you could, sure.
Okay, I'll get with you then, and I'll get that out. Thank you. Any other questions? There's one thing that I found out not too long ago. There's another fixture in the harbor that is going to be retiring. He's going to be in the harbor. Yearly is not going to be really having his office. And Monty Yearly has been around, oh my gosh, almost as long as the harbor has. And he is a wonderful character. You know something is happening when he finally buys his boat. And that's a long-going story, but we won't get into it right now. So if you go by Monty's place, he'll be there to the end of December, and he wants to get more involved with the yacht club. what a character. He's got some tales to tell. So wish him well, and I just want everybody to know that he's going to be around, but not as much as he has been. So hope Monty has some fun. Anything else? On to council liaison. As we know, Esther Sanchez is now the upcoming mayor. We are waiting to find out who our new council liaison will be. That won't be until next year. So see who's going to come on board, and we can work some stuff out. At this time, I'd like to mention that the next meeting will be February 15th. Thank you, Jennifer, for getting all the dates in order. Sometimes it's not an easy task. And they will be posted on the little bulletin boards around the harbor, and I sent you all an email so you know when they are. Anybody else anything to say? In closing, I'd like to say I wish you all happy holidays, safe holidays, and healthy holidays. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion we adjourn for the year.
Second? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Happy holidays, friends.